And we're back for part 2, or part B of lesson 2.1 on trigonometry. And we are at the top of page 60. So first thing I'm going to do, since we're working with trig, is I'm going to write my SOHCAHTOA at the top of the page. SOHCAHTOA. And let's look at this triangle, PQR, which is here. And so I need to label my triangle. Here's my angle of interest, and my hypotenuse, and the opposite, and the adjacent. So the sine ratio for angle X is PR, so PR over PQ. Sorry, PQ is the hypotenuse, so it's 3 over 5. So we write, this is how we do it, sine X squared is 3 over 5. So cos of X is going to be, so ka is adjacent over hypotenuse, so that's going to be 4 over 5. And tan theta is going to be opposite over adjacent, which is 3 over 4. And did you see how much easier that was when I wrote out that, like, I put the O over A so that I don't have to remember that while I go looking for my numbers? I really recommend that you do that. Okay, and sometimes we label it with the vertex rather than giving the angle its own variable. So sometimes we do that. That's fine. All right, this one, let's actually do this time. So this is what your questions are going to look like. So it says write the ratio, complete these, write the ratio in simplest form. So I encourage sine. So this is sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse, and I did not label my triangle. I always figure that out eventually. There's my angle of interest, hypotenuse, opposite, adjacent. So I've got the sine theta is opposite over hypotenuse, so sine A is going to be opposite over hypotenuse is 30 over 34. And then I'm going to reduce that. That's 15 over 17. All right. And then up here, I'm going to start back here. So cos of X, cos theta. Oops. Cos theta is adjacent over hypotenuse. So cos of A is going to be adjacent 16 over hypotenuse, 16 over 34, which is 8 over 17. And then tan, so tan theta is opposite over adjacent. So tan theta is 30 over 16. And if I reduce that fraction, that's 15 over 8. All right, that's it. Okay. Now this next one's going to confuse you. And this is because we've got 2 angles of interest in each of the triangles. So my recommendation on this kind of question is label your triangle with 2 different colors. So let's do angle X first. So if this is my angle of interest, then my hypotenuse is 10, because it's the longest side, and then this is my opposite, and this is my adjacent. And now let's actually do the X ratios for this one. So sine of X equals, so sine is going to be the opposite over the hypotenuse, which is going to be 6 over 10, which reduces to 3 over 5. And for cosine of X, it's adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 8 over 10, which reduces to 4 over 5. Okay? And then I'm going to do angle Y in a different color, and you'll see why in a second. So I'm going to label that. That's my angle of interest in blue. The long side is still the hypotenuse, but now H is the opposite and 6 is the adjacent, because remember, opposite and adjacent are always relative to the angle of interest. Okay? So the tangent of Y over here, tangent is opposite over adjacent, so that is going to be, my opposite now is 8 and 6, so it's 8 over 6, which is 4 over 3. And the sine of Y is going to be the opposite over hypotenuse. it's a different opposite now. This time the opposite is 8, and the hypotenuse is the same. It's still 10. So that simplifies to 4/5. All right? And now you're welcome to try the next triangle. I'm just going to do it in 2 different colors. I'm going to do it in green and gray. So I'm going to start with angle A. And so this is my H and my O and my A. So cosine of A is ka, adjacent over hypotenuse, which is 5/13. And sine of A is opposite over hypotenuse, which is 12/13. All right. And then switching colors, now I'm going to do the label for, now B is my angle of interest, so this is my hypotenuse. 5 is now my opposite, and 12 is the adjacent. So my tangent of B is opposite over adjacent, but I have to look at the gray O and A. So that's going to be, the gray one is 5/12. And then for the cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, but again, I have to make sure I'm looking at the gray ones. So my adjacent is 12, and my hypotenuse is 13. And I'm, maybe pause it and look at it for a minute and see if you notice anything that's kind of strange about this. I want you to notice that the sine of A is equal to the cosine of B. And that happened over here too. The sine of Y is equal to the cosine of X, and that is always true. That makes sense because the opposite and the adjacent have switched places depending on which is your angle of interest. Okay? I fully expect some of you to struggle with this lesson, but really just keep the lesson in front of you, write SOHCAHTOA on your page, and work the process. Okay, just work through the process, and it will get easier, I promise. Bye.